We're going to take the discussion further where we left yesterday. We were talking about Fullerton and Stevens article 1998, and we talked about one of the myth. That was the myth of universal market. Let's today talk about some other myths which they discussed in their article. The other myth which they discussed was the myth of market solutions. So they say that the another myth is that economists always recommend a market solution to the problem, right? So, for example, they've given an example that supposedly the government thinks that there is too much of pollution, and this pollution is creating too much of external cost. So let us create a market for that. Let us create a market for permits, right? So government is going to give the permit, people can buy, and there are people who can sell even those permits to the other people who wants to pollute this way. So all of this looks very good on paper if the conditions are going to be met. The conditions of the first welfare theorem, that there are no monopolies, no transaction cost, there is perfect information, everything. This looks very fine. But most of the times, these conditions are not met. Maybe there are certain set of buyers who are acting as a monopoly and they are buying all the permits. Then how do you think the solution is going to work? This will not work. Or there are only some sellers. So for example, government is one thing, but if the buyers are buying it from some other seller, so government has just given the permit and you can sell and buy the permits yourself. So if there is someone who is only going to sell the permit, that is someone who has a monopoly on selling of these permits, then again it is going to become difficult. How the conditions of the perfect market is going to be satisfied? It won't. For example, government find it very costly to even measure the amount of pollution. How much pollution is being done by this activity? How will it create the market for permits? How will it price the permits? Who will buy them? There can also be the condition that there are huge transaction costs. Maybe these permits are very expensive, or even to buy these permits, you have to have certain licenses. I don't know what. So those could be the cases where these conditions cannot be met, right? Or people may not even have any information about that such a market exists. If people do not have an information about whether such a market exists, then how can you create a market solution to this problem? But there are instances in which the solutions, these market solutions, have given some solution, at least in the sense that they have been able to reduce the amount of the pollution. So may not, it is possible that these solutions may not work perfectly, but they have given some solution to the problem as well. And if any of the instances which I have just given you, that for example, there is a monopoly, or there is not a perfect information, or there are huge transaction costs, or the government is not able to measure the amount of pollution correctly, if any of these conditions are there, then maybe the market solution is going to work, but it may not work in the best possible way, the way the government wanted, right? So, but still, I mean, we can't say that market solutions are the panacea for everything. No, they're not. They're not always the best solutions, but that's what we can do. That is the max what we can do, right? Otherwise, it's all about the awareness that you have to inform people about the negativity of pollution and everything, and will people stop? So are always regulations going to work? They may or may not work, right? So even in case of permits, that is a kind of a regulation only. That is, we are giving you, we are just regulating this, that you can pollute this much if you have this much of permit, right? So these solutions, they may not always give the best solution, but they're at least trying to solve a problem in certain way, right? Another myth is that economists always use market prices to evaluate the policy instruments. I mean, whatever policy instrument is being chosen, they will be using market prices to evaluate it. But what else we can do? We can't go and ask people to tell how do you value a certain environmental good? How do you value certain public good? People are not going to reveal their preferences truthfully, do they? Right? But if you actions, they speak more than words. For example, if they are going to buy a home where there is a clean air, which is away from a polluted environment, then they will be willing to pay extra. So that is the best economists can do. They can use those market prices only, so that how people are going to choose certain things. But they actually, because what else economists can do? I mean, they will have to depend upon these market prices only, which is going to guide them how people are going to sort of value these scarce resources, these environmental resources. Although sometimes these environmental goods, they do not even have any market for them. For example, forests, for that matter. You forget about timber and all the value which it will have. Forget about the use values. There are many other values which forests are giving you. So it is trying to protect the environment. It is giving you giving all of this to the future generation. It is helping the species, the other species, to live easily. So how do you monetize all of them? But that is the best what could be done. That is the best what could be done. And whatever environmental goal you pick up, right, you need to find out what are going to be the costs and benefits. So how do you measure cost and benefits? You need to have certain number to tell you. So even if you say that we are going to plant these many trees, so there is an environmental goal, for example, but you have to think that what benefits it is going to give, what are the cost it will have. Then only it is going to be prudent enough to go onto that path, that yes, whether this environmental goal is feasible or not. But for that, you need certain measure. So money is that common unit in which everything has to be converted back. So you will have to use a lot of assumptions that this thing, in case if they would have in the market, then this is the value, what it will have. So these are like the defense what authors have given, that don't think that economists don't know what they are doing, but that is the best what they can do, right? The other myth is that the myth of efficiency. So the point is that these economists are only concerned with efficiency rather than distribution. So author says they tell the reason why. As far as efficiency is concerned, it is easy in the sense that you can evaluate whether this is an efficient outcome or not. And the main criteria of the improvement in efficiency is that whether there is an increase in the net benefits. They said this. What is going to constitute equitable distribution, that is a matter of debate. This is what they're saying. So they are giving a defense. And as far as and they say that the more problem is how to have efficiency with distribution. That is there, but that's the best what we can do. So you pick up any environmental goal, at least economic analysis can tell you what is going to be the distribution of cost and benefits across the groups. That much could be done. So the defense which they have provided is that it's not that we don't know that distributional aspects are also important, but it is difficult to measure. So whatever is the best what we can do, we are doing that. So this is the defense which authors have provided for economists, right? So this is what I wanted to do in this class. So I think this paper is complete. That is the paper by Fullerton and Stavins, uh, how economists see the environment. This is 1998 paper, right? Thank you, Beta.